Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by IDS, an award-winning digital marketing agency that delivers integrated marketing solutions for franchisors, franchisees, and franchise development teams. Learn why over 75 brands depend on IDS's team of dedicated marketers and client service professionals to deliver a strong ROI on their marketing investment. Go to idsfranchisemarketing.com for a complimentary digital audit and consultation.
Welcome back, everybody, to Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and this is the show where we bring you inspiring conversations with industry leaders and franchise experts. And today is truly, absolutely no different. I have Wayne Scherger. He is the COO of CertaPro Painters, and they're a renowned franchise brand known for exceptional painting services. Wayne, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I appreciate the time.
You got it. Well, listen, we'll dive right in. And I know we enjoyed a little pre-conversation, so this is going to be fun. But tell me first a little bit about you, your background. You have quite an extensive franchise background. And let's talk a little bit about your vision here for FreshCoat as COO and where you're going to be taking things.
Okay, we'll start with the history. So back in the early 80s, I was still in college, and I'm originally from Canada. Calgary was where I was pretty much raised. And there was a system in Canada called CertaPro Painters, which was essentially the very first franchise painting company in the world. And so I was a student franchisee who would sign a 1-year contract, and I did it for 3 seasons, 2 years residentially in Calgary and 1 year commercially in Vancouver, British Columbia, and learned all the systems and processes that were at that time very cutting edge, but those same systems and processes work today. They've been updated with technology and scripting and a variety of things. I went to work for the franchisor at that point, so I learned sort of all aspects of recruiting, training, supporting. That was in Toronto. They transferred me to Boston, and I worked in the New England department or division there. And in essentially 1990, they wanted to come up with a more of a year-round non-student business, and I was on the development team of CertaPro Painters. So the very first owners that ever came out of CertaPro were under myself, and I did that for a few years. And I'm too entrepreneurial, so I started my own. It was called ProTech Painters, and I operated that till 2009 and sold that to a business called Service Brands International, which owned Molly Maid, Mr. Handyman, 1-800 Dry Clean. So I was able to, exit at that point. And then I started executive coaching with CEOs kind of around the world or different locations. And we're helping them with, leadership development, strategic planning, all that sort of stuff's right up my alley. And I also do a peer group called Peer Group Forums that is it's a small business where I get CEOs or COOs together in meetings and, discuss all sorts of issues that are going on in their business. But I ended up sort of at the door of FreshCoat, where I saw a business that, funny, many years ago, 2004, I tried to acquire. And nothing happened with that lead, but I always knew of FreshCoat. I knew that they had some size. So that was interesting. They had a big enough footprint. I looked at them like a sleeping giant, and I went, if I got into that business and could add a little energy and, newer systems and processes a little outside of what they've got, watch us flourish. And that's sort of where we're at today. So number of months in and implementing a number of things, hopefully all for the good. To watch FreshCoat grow. So one of my initiatives is to get FreshCoat to $100 million. We're not quite there yet, but hopefully within the next 2 or 3 years, we hit that revenue threshold.
Gotcha. Well, I think I read somewhere you have a name for your approach of growth called the double. So I think you're kind of referring to sort of that approach. And before you answer my question, I just wanted to say that your background is extensive, and clearly, like I said, I was telling you earlier, when you have all those angles where you've worked from from the franchisee perspective, the franchisor perspective, the coach perspective, it's like, wow, like you see every angle, and it really makes you pretty powerful in what you can do. And I also thought, as a marketer, like when I see a really awesome product that's not quite marketed well, but people love it, that's kind of what I think of when you were saying, man, I see so much potential. What an amazing brand. I'd love to put my recipe to that. So anyway, I can see what you mean. Anyway, tell me a little bit more about the double and your approach to growth.
Yeah, I use the term, the term R&D. So Rob, if I threw the term R&D at you, what does it stand for?
For me, it would be research and development. That's what I know.
Okay. And it's otherwise referred to as rip off and duplicate.
Okay.
So I'm not always the inventor.
I do R&D, by the way. Okay, gotcha. I'm an R&D guy. All right.
Okay, so I'm not always the inventor of all the systems and processes. I see them work, and I'm like, I believe in that. So that double is really doubling your business in 3 years and less, revenues and profits. So it's simply 26% growth 3 years in a row. So a $500,000 business, 26% within a buck or two of $1 million. So that's the program. It's not always about generating more calls. It's actually about adding headcount to your business and scaling. So moving. And I like to I have a graph that I call the journey, and it's just kind of a dots on an ascending line, and dots are certain revenue targets or people. And so as you ascend up the journey, dot to dot, you're adding headcount, which would be, in our business, kind of territory managers or estimators or production people, or maybe a part-time admin person. So you're adding headcount, and your business is worth more when you're further away from the line. So it's not Rob doing all the work. Rob has a team or a staff. So to get to hit those different journey dots, that's growth. That's the double. It's really difficult to do it if you're just a single person business, kind of a chuck in a truck, and you're not prepared to bring on people either in sales and marketing or production. That's a tough way to grow. It's a real grind.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's and I can relate to that. And in the R&D, that's funny. Yeah, I think if you're good at what you do in this world, that's all. There's so much information. If you can distill what will help your business and implement it, that's the key. Yeah. So that's very interesting approach. So tell me, you obviously looked at the business and you knew about it for a while. You actually, I didn't realize you thought about acquiring it. So obviously there were things about it you really liked. And then over the years, it's evolved and now grown. And here you are. So you said, I kind of saw this as a sleeping giant, I think you said. But tell me a little bit. So tell me a little bit about the unique qualities and the value propositions of Fresh Coat Painters, and how do you go about communicating that to the potential franchisees and or customers?
Yeah. Well, I'll talk franchisee. So that's franchise development. So we have owners in markets that I was never really able to get to myself running my own business. So we've made some penetration into some good markets. Texas specifically, we got a fair amount of owners. I think we have close to 19 or 20 owners in Texas. And just other markets across the country, the Chicago area. So I saw most franchisors want to go to some bigger cities, and we are part of that as well. So we have some penetration there. There's obviously some states in the country that are on the non-desirable side. It's just, you could recruit somebody, but it's difficult to support somebody who may be in South Dakota. All right. It's an expensive way to get there. And if you only got one unit. So we don't put a lot of emphasis, pardon me, on that. And we have some owners that are really doing well in these markets as well. So that is an attraction. So we focus a lot on validation with them. So if a new prospect in those markets is looking to join Fresh Coat, we obviously have them speak to, not necessarily, we just don't pick, the top ones to speak to, but really essentially anybody. And, the typical franchisee is, I use the term duck, and I learned this term probably 40 years ago working for CertaPro Painters. We were recruiting students on campus to be franchisees. So it was like getting on campus and shooting a shotgun and seeing what we could hit. So we were looking for the duck. Well, what's the duck is, it's a certain age, it's a certain, not necessarily gender, but, what do they have in their background that would make them a good candidate to be a franchisee? Leadership is one for sure. Organizational skills, tenacity, goal-oriented, introspection, because they can see their contribution in past successes or failures, and just the ability to endure. It's not always easy, so you got to endure the short-term pain on a daily or weekly or monthly, or in some cases yearly. Man, you could have a down year, but just keep fighting forward. So, those are the type of candidates that we're looking for, and we've got a great number of owners in our system that have those specific traits.
Yeah, now that's important. It said that you said duck, right? That's what you were saying earlier. So kind of walks like a duck, quacks like a duck idea.
There's a lot of things that go along with that, but it's easy. You can't always tell, right? You can't tell a book or a book by its cover. You got to go through a nice interview and selection process to see, is this a good candidate? There's a lot of people who want to buy a business, but they're probably not. They may be financially not prepared to do so, but if they don't have those skills, leadership specifically, it'll be a struggle. And that's not unique to Freshcoat as well. It would be any other franchise system, retail or home services.
Gotcha. Excellent. Well, that is key, because if you have the right people, right, and you can build that momentum with the right people, then it makes it a heck of a lot easier to keep doing that, right? Versus you have problems everywhere and it's not a fit, right? And no one wants that. And that's what I love about franchising in general. So let me ask you this. We talked earlier before we started the show a little bit about technology, right? And I know a big part of what you do is operations. Obviously, you've done it all, but you're focused a lot on operations right now. And so tell me a little bit about how technology is playing in that role, and any innovations or advancements that you see playing a role in helping you in the areas of operations and training and different ways that you're doing things.
Yeah, well, let's turn the clock back a number of decades, and there was no technology. There was no cell phones. We had a pager. That was about the extent of our technology. No websites, no email addresses, essentially zero technology. So everything was done on a piece of paper with a pencil and a pen, and everything was handwritten. And to be honest with you, that old school approach still works today, but technology has found its way into estimating, how you present a proposal, just different technologies for, then we were doing estimates in the field and printing it off. We had a mobile office sitting beside you with your laptop, and you'd print off the proposal. And I thought, wow, what a concept that is. That's different than handwriting a three-part NCR proposal. Where your hand would be tired on writing the same thing, every proposal. And then, wow, okay, we create templates. So that technology's come on. And then more marketing related, the digital marketing has, overcome anything print related by a long shot. So, 30 years ago, direct mail was the one and only real tactic, more localized stuff. You could drop, you'd get 1% redemption, 30,000 pieces of mail, generate you 300 calls in 6 weeks. Well, that now it's 1/10 of 1%, not 1%. So that tactic still has some value. Training, so video training with sales techniques. So we have a fairly defined sales accelerator program to teach owners of how to present. Training is, there's just so many applications of databases, web-based intranet sites, places of learning management systems that owners can log in and view things that used to come in a binder. Now they're all online. There's no need for a binder anymore. With every year we'd come up with a new updated chapter, and so we'd send it out, and they'd have to. Who knows whatever happened? Right? Did the binder ever get out of your initial box? You got a training, right? Or I'd go visit an owner, and I'd see a box of they've been in business for 5 years, and the binder never made it out of the box. So
it's still taped shut.
Shrink wrapped, yeah,
still shrink wrapped.
So technology has really it's come just miles. I like to look at things like when the year 1900, what was technology, or even industrial anything, right? So the phone, the car, running water, electricity, within a 20, 30 year period. Well, my 20, 30, 40 year period has seen tremendous change with the use of technology. What you and I are doing right now didn't exist then, right? I didn't have a screen or a webcam or a microphone, or I didn't have anything. And then how people had to adapt to it fairly quickly. If you couldn't, it still exists today, maybe with the more elderly, it's learning the keyboard, right? A QWERTY keyboard, and how to write and send an email. Still a little bit, but 30 years ago, I didn't know how to do it. I had no clue, so anyway, technology, you better embrace it, because it's not going away, and every day something new is coming. We talk about, in our tactical meetings every week, and with my coaches, we talk about technologies all the time, and how they're, just the ability to insert a picture into our proposal so the customer can see maybe a before, so that we're talking about this. Any of that stuff was not existent many, many years ago.
Yeah. You had made a comment earlier. I thought it was just a great way to say it very succinctly, that you said, if we're growing slower internally technologically than outside, then there might be an issue, right? And then I said, it's really about moving the levers, though, right? It's more about what is, like you said, with proposals. So if I'm not closing as many deals as I think I can, well, what can we do to improve? Well, we could do a better looking proposal, help people understand the value better. What could we do to do that? Well, there's this technology that could do this image or whatever, and it's real quick. And so it's like learning to zero in on what lever you're trying to influence with technology. And that's the key. But then the other challenge you mentioned is the integration part, right? So if you figure all these things, all these tools and ideas, and you start to use things, and you're like, well, how can they work together? And that, you were telling me a little earlier about that, but tell me a little more how you approach trying to keep everything uniform as far as the operations go, as far as technology.
Yeah, well, you got to be mindful of what you're bringing into the system initially. Remember, and that's kind of what my role is. I'm a little bit more of the mad scientist, where I need to be a few months ahead of where we're really at. I still have operational responsibilities today, but I need to be a little bit out in front, usually 6 months. So I'm always looking at a few new concepts, techniques, or technologies. Screen capture software for nothing beats sitting at the kitchen table or dining room table with a homeowner presenting your proposal and price. I think during COVID, people got away from that quite a bit and was more email estimate. Well, there's no real face-to-face. It's good to see you, Rob. So, right, versus a phone call. So there's techniques and softwares out there that would be applicable to use for that, to help with your close rates. Video stuff. Video is the most impactful thing out there. It's why YouTube's the number 2 search engine. So there's products that are video email, and we use those for pre-positioning. So before we even get to the home, I would be calling Rob and say, Rob, it's Wayne with Fresh Coat. And you see me, even though I said I got a face for radio. I understand we have a call or an appointment at 11 o'clock on Friday. Just calling to confirm the address, and you could see who I am. And here's my phone number. I'll give you, kind of a 10-second thing of what you could expect when I get there, so you're understanding what the process looks like. So just different techniques and strategies and softwares that are, or technologies that are out there that we'll try. We'll implement them with a few people initially, see what the results are and how well it integrates and adaption, and then roll those out. So moving a 150 unit business is a bit like driving a big ship. You don't make turns like a rowboat. So it does take a little bit of time to get something built out into the system and used. And then we'll initiate it in training. So any new owners coming through training have got the new, business in a box sort of concept.
Yeah, exactly. Everything you just said is, well, you and your team probably make it look a lot easier in practice, but like as a franchise owner, you don't have to worry about that. You just focus on your core business. We'll take care of all these things that you can now use and be more efficient. But it would, it's very difficult to do on your own as a small business to even think about innovation,
This always comes to mind. I didn't create this term, so it's another one that I've stolen from somebody else. There's two words really that are applicable in franchising. Entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. We're not looking for entrepreneurs. That's kind of me, right? I'm the mad scientist. Let me figure out all this stuff. You just bolt on to what systems we have and just, run with those. Don't try to recreate the wheel. Don't spend too much money or any money or time or resources on recreating something. We've probably already got it or had it or, thought of it. So, the entrepreneur is really what we're looking for as, part of the duck. Yeah, exactly. Part of the duck. Exactly. No, and I've heard that many times and learned that as I've learned the franchise industry over the years. But that is very, very important. So you were talking about scaling earlier. We were talking about the double, right? Yep.
And I know part of that, and I think we had talked before the show, but part of that is about staffing and about the obviously unit level revenues and success. And part of that is staffing, obviously, to scale the business. Tell me a little bit about your approach to helping franchisees do that effectively. I know, obviously, hiring good people, skilled painters, things like that is obviously, again, another thing that if you don't have a background in the business, that's kind of hard. But if you have a franchisor kind of figuring that out for you, kind of just implement what's there. But tell me a little bit of how that works. How do you help them do that and scale?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, Fresh Coat is really a sales and marketing business. Depending on the state we're in, certain states, California example, doesn't allow subcontractor model. So, but we're kind of a 50-50 kind of a hybrid where owners will have both subcontractors and staff, employees, painters. So the whole thing to teach growth is to change their mindset of kind of grind this out one job at a time versus there's other people out there that can do, I kind of use the 82% thing. If they can do it 82% as well as me, they got the job. So I would be recruiting people to do estimating or production, mostly estimating, and drive your revenues. And then, now the other side of the coin is production. How am I going to get it done? So that's your model of, I got to continually, production is very much like client marketing. It's ongoing and consistent. You got to consistently be looking for people. If you're just satisfied with your team, and one crew leaves and you don't replace them, you just took a big cut. So you got to spend time and efforts on both client marketing and sort of painter / subcontractor recruiting. So that's part of the goal set and review with each coach, with each individual franchisee, and their business plan is what that looks like. But the double is, again, the further that you can get away as an owner from the line, meaning, doing estimates, landing work, but more coordinating, quarterbacking the whole thing, that's attractive to a lot of people. They just never really thought how to do this. So I kind of fell into this kind of double or territory manager model in 1996. I was living in Boston, and I had a recruiting background, right? I was recruiting CertaPro and ProTech people. So I knew what I was looking for, and I found 3 people in the Boston area, and they became territory managers. And I went from, a decent volume of revenue to like triple that in like a year. And I went, wow, did I just find the golden nugget here, the shiny coin, anything like that? And I went, that is the model. If I can do it, anybody can. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I got a lot of scars to prove it. But that was the model that I went, wow, we could replicate this. And certain people just grab it and run. Wow, I never thought that I should do it this way. I thought I would be an owner operator and I'm going to be, driving to estimates for the next 20 years. And I'm like, no, think like you're the desk jockey and you got 3 or 4 or 2 or 3 or whatever it is, people out there, divide your territory up into smaller sections, run them like mini franchisees within or franchise units within your big unit and really watch your sales grow.
Wow.
So, but that's not the easiest sell, right? It's but it takes leadership, and that's one of the number of things I told you earlier about the skills or preferences or traits that a good owner needs. Leadership is top of the line.
Yeah,
they got to have that.
They got to have that. Yeah, and I think and one would think that's maybe why they're looking to start a business of their own. Sometimes, they have that background, they have the need to lead. But that's key. And the idea, the concept of, going, multiple tiers, I guess. I don't know if there's a word, but just learning how to kind of remove yourself a degree or two from, the lower levels of executing the business, right? Yep. And it gives you more flexibility to do the things that many probably want to do, which is one, earn more, serve more people, but, have I don't know, it's gratifying to bring people in and let them become successful too, right? Because you get to see other people doing their work really well. And again, you can help more people be successful if you grow that way versus grinding it out as I think we were talking earlier, it could be pretty hard if you're doing everything yourself and not learning to show others how to do it. So that's amazing. Well, listen, I appreciate you being on the show today. And before we wrap up, I always like to ask, especially guys like you, is there any advice that you would give others like you, other emerging franchise brands, right? Yep. Or potential folks that might be thinking about starting a franchise, whatever you want to pick. You can pick one or both or whatever. And then, of course, you being this entrepreneur, for any entrepreneurs out there thinking about, well, gosh, I want to grow this idea and I've been doing so well. What's this franchising thing, right? Like maybe I'll do that. Any advice, though, to these kinds of people? Any way you want to take that? And also, was there like a mentor? You said you like R&D, right? So is there something you really have leaned on over the years? Methodologies, a book, some kind of training you went through, a coach? Tell me, is there something like that you could share with the audience? Well, that'd be great.
I'll answer that question first, and then we'll go back to the other one. So, I have plenty of mentors. My early days in the early 80s of running my CertaPro Painters business, some of the people I worked with then, either friends, because we were doing this together. And, before I had even heard of a peer group, I was using my own peer groups to really help me support, or they're supporting me and myself, them, right? We all get together over a beer and, here's my issues. And they say, I just had that issue. Try this. So that was good. So I had many, and I still do today. I have many of those same people, about a dozen of them from my early 80s days. We get on a Zoom call and just shoot the breeze. So those are my mentors, just people I've worked with and for over the years. Are important to me. I'm a huge sports guy, and I was mentioning during early talk, I can't stop coaching. I coached. I was certified to coach basketball and hockey to the collegiate level. I played college basketball, and I still do. I coach golf. My son is a college level player. And I worked with him since day one, but just many people, I understand the golf swing, so I love to coach. So those are some of my what I really like to do. And but there's many people along the way that in some way, shape, or form I've taken a little bit from a lot of people. No real particular book. Some movies. I mean, I'm a big Hoosiers fan, right? Have you watched the movie? Yeah. I get jacked up every time I've seen it 100 times. But
Gene Hackman. And I absolutely, I saw that with my son, my 3-year-old son. And it was an older movie then, but I remember he loved it. He was into basketball as a little kid. And we watched that over and over because he just loved it. And I was just like, this is a good movie. I remember I hadn't seen it for a while. So I enjoyed watching it. But what a great movie. Awesome.
And I went through a lot of, my old boss at CertaPro Painters did an amazing job with spending money on me and others on professional development. So I've learned many, modules and techniques. One of my favorite one that I try to teach everybody is the Ken Blanchard situational leadership. If you learn that one the first day, for the rest of your life, you'll go, okay, I can tell, sell, participate, delegate. Where do these people fit in that grid? And that's one of the first modules at every training session. And it's not just for me, but every brand should have that. So it's a separate language. It's nothing too difficult, right? Yeah. I work with Tara Riley, who's the president, and she knew the model anyway, but she'll say some things like, Wayne, I'm going to S1 you on that. Well, I know that is tell. I don't have any feedback or comment. She's telling me I need that done. And so when you could implement that. So there's just so many, I can't give credit to any. It's a big bucket of people that I've leaned on and still lean on for things. And give me the first question again. I think you had some tips mixed into that answer, but I was just saying, did you have any advice? Let's leave it as for emerging brands, that are trying to get to this momentum that you've been so good at creating. Yeah. Well, if you're a franchisee, you need to determine, are you a service person or a retail, kind of a brick and mortar? So find that out. Do your research on the brand. Really do an inner look at yourself, like what your own skills are. Don't overestimate your own skills because they will come out when you sign that franchise agreement. Now we're going to really find out, are you coachable? What your leadership is, how organized you are. So really know yourself and what you think you're good at. And then find the market that, no demographics. If you're, I'm home service mostly. So I'm always looking for the area of wealth, new car purchasers, college educated, how old the houses are, what the income is around there. We're a sales and marketing company. So let's find where the fish are biting. And just continue to work there. So that's what I would suggest to people as you're looking at a brand, sort of, do a little deeper dive in that. Don't just take the numbers on a page. I'll give you a quick story. We put an initial CertaPro Painters guy in Frederick, Maryland, and he was not off to a good start. If you do look at the demographics on Frederick, Maryland, it's a community or a bedroom town to DC. It's outstanding. Well, his numbers are horrible. I go out to visit him. And I said, take me to your best territory, your best zip code. He does. It's a forest of aluminum siding with one wood post out the front of every house. And I went, well, we're mostly an exterior business. Bad on us for not knowing, what the housing stock is. So, back in the day, you would have a realtor book that you'd pick up at the front of the 7-Eleven, right? You'd look through, these are houses for sale, and you could identify kind of what the house should look like. Now you can go to realtor.com. And if you weren't sure, you could say to your franchise development person, this is what I'm looking at. Do you think this would fit a fresh coat market? So those are some things they should be doing.
Exactly. Key things, right? Key thing. You don't want to find out later that you should have asked that question. You don't want it to be a should have asked question. You want it to be an asked question. So that's brilliant. I appreciate that. Wayne, thank you so much for sharing your insights with our audience today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate the time. And, if you're looking to do this again, I'm always available.
Oh, absolutely going to say that. And before I do end it, I would like to say, is there a place that folks can go? Certainly any consumers, but if they're interested in potentially becoming or looking into becoming an owner, Is there a place they should go or they can look online?
Yeah, I would just say the freshcoatpainters.com would be the main site. You'd find, franchise development section and meander through that, and, submit your name. And there's other places, some of the portals, Franchise Gator, other ones like that. You could find Fresh Coat. So
you got it. Sounds good. Well, once again, thank you. And I hope to talk to you again soon.
Okay. Appreciate your time.